Okay, so good morning. It's an interesting lesson we have today in the review. It seems to be quite appropriate for the situation I have found myself in a particular way. God is but love, and therefore so am I. There is no death. The Holy Son of God is free. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Now we are one with Him who is our source. So the reason why I'm laughing this morning is, for many of you know, or maybe I've been under house arrest for something that happened a couple years ago. And today, well, actually it was at midnight, I finished serving my sentence, so I'm on my way in to have my ankle bracelet taken off. And so there is no death, and the Holy Son of God is free. This is just sort of an interesting moment that the lesson would read that, as I was going to be freed from the ankle bracelet and the need to document and log in my comings and goings. But as I was sitting here this morning, just being quiet and contemplating the lesson, and this has been a theme for me in something I've been trying to convey throughout all of these commentaries, is that there's a reassociation of our thinking going on within our mind as we undo the past associations of our thoughts within our thinking, from identifying with the ego to identifying with God. And this is another giant step, in a sense, because many of you already understand this, so I'm just sort of reiterating that which is part of your new understanding now, as you've gone through the lessons and have probably gone through these lessons in the past. So God is but love, and therefore so am I. There is no death. The Holy Son of God is free. Well, if God is but love, and therefore so am I, and the Holy Son of God is free, then obviously freedom and love, being free, freedom of being and love, is what God is. And we who have been created by the Creator, who now we're beginning to associate all things with Him: freedom, love, the idea that there is no death, because of the eternal nature of God and of ourselves, and the infinite abundance of the kingdom of life. So if God is love and God is freedom, and the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of that we are, the extension of the kingdom is us, then life, as God extended it, is what freedom and love is. And therefore, so am I, because there's nothing outside of God, God being everything, and me not being capable of being separate from everything. I am that. I am what freedom, I am free, and I am what love is. Therefore, today, we are one, right now, in that realization, in the realization of God being everything. And to say God is all outside of God, there is nothing outside of you, there is nothing. The human mind still has an association of what nothing is based on what it thinks everything is, so nothing actually becomes something rather than remaining what it is, which is no thing, nothing outside. And it's hard, but that's a switch, that's a shift in our perception, and it's part of the reassociation that we are undergoing through the practice of these principles in these lessons. When this first started to come over me in the dark night, and when I was at the end of my road, in the sense of thinking about the world on the world's terms, I came to a moment when I realized that there really was no communication going on here, and that there was a deep-seated sense of separation that I had been suffering from, and I was not able to overcome, no matter what it was I did, or what it was I thought, or what substance I ingested, or what substance I didn't ingest. As a matter of fact, it didn't matter what I did. I felt like I was separate from everything, and everything was separate from me. Now, it didn't dawn on me at first that it was everything, but it was the things that I was perceiving as different from me, that I was separate from, in the sense that they were individual aspects carved out and formulated in my mind, or what I thought was formulated in a world that was composed of an innumerable amount of individual and distinct images, forms. And I was not part of any of that. I was separate. There was a spatial and temporal difference distinguishing me from everything or all those other things. And I remember sitting in my car and saying, it's like I just feel like I'm separate. And then I began to wonder, like I'm separate from God. But if God is everything, how could I be separate from everything? Like, how can you be separate from everything? Where would you be in a condition of separation from everything? And conceptually, I got that it was impossible to be separate from everything, and that was as far as my human thinking could carry me, until I was offered the ability to understand, through the recognition of a voice that began speaking to me, that I had been doing that to myself. Now, and when I realized that I was doing that to myself, I've recognized that there must be a way to not do that to myself. And that's when I was told the directions would come. And when I ran into A Course in Miracles, I understood perfectly well that these were the directions, because I recognized the exact same voice that had been speaking to me within the words of the pages of the Course. Now it's come, as I've advanced or progressed, I hope, in the ways that this Course lays out. There's been innumerable experiences that have demonstrated to me the falsity of the thinking, and the impossibility, in a sense, the impossibility of the fact that I am separate, and the ease at which, through accepting the responsibility for my own thinking, it gets undone simply because it's not true, and never has been true. And the biggest block is the denial that you think it. Yet the experience that we have is the doorway into the recognition of what we really think and what's controlling us unconsciously, that allows us to then see what our in a sense, the thoughts that we're using to imprison ourselves in our thinking that death will solve the problem eventually, can be undone so easily. And that's simply because God is but love, and therefore so am I. The kingdom of God is the kingdom of love, and I cannot not be a whole, perfect part of the extension of that. Now, obviously it's hard for the human mind to begin to grasp the idea of being part and parcel of an entirety and not losing, in a sense, the sense of who we are to that greater thing. And the human mind would consider that sacrificial and loss. And yet I assure you, when you begin to have the experiences that show you the impossibility of the idea that you're separate, you lose the sense of self. You gain a sense of a self that cannot be contained in this world or any of its ideas, including death. And that, my friends, is what freedom is. And therefore, God is but love, and therefore so am I. There is no such thing as death, because you must get the result of your thinking. So if you must get the result of your thinking, then death doesn't end you getting the results of your thinking. It's just you get a result unlike the other results that you think you have, but you still must get the result of it, so therefore it doesn't really solve the problem. And the problem is getting the results of the thinking that identify with the ego, which causes us to feel the pains of separation, sickness, death, lack, sacrifice, anything but love. So if God is but love and therefore so am I, there couldn't possibly be death. And we are free. We are free from all the thoughts that have bound us to our ideas of what freedom or not freedom is. Because in the condition of the unity consciousness and the recognition of God being love and therefore so am I, and love being all there is, in that sense, and being one right now, not in the past, not in the future, but in an eternally unfolding now, in which our mind has become dedicated to the truth. And the way that happens here is by finding the falsity and using the light of the truth to shine it away. We are one with our source, whatever that source may be. It's beyond words. It's beyond definition, of course. And that's been the problem. The problem is defining. We define who we are as perfect whole, eternal love within the infinite abundance of the kingdom of love. And we define ourselves, making ourselves unlike the totality, therefore thinking in our mind that there is something other, and there couldn't possibly be anything other. We're just losing the necessity to define ourselves conceptually, and we can let go of the need to conceptually understand ourselves, because within the release from concepts, which is what salvation is, we begin to experience ourselves as love and as free without a definition to those things. Even the idea of unconditionality is based on conditions. So if you mean to be unconditional, there must be conditions that you are un. There's no conditions, because we exist prior to the need for conditions and definitions and concepts to ever existed. So God is but love, therefore so am I. There couldn't possibly be, what the human mind conceives of as death could not possibly be true, because you must get the result of your thinking, and death is an idea within your own mind. So the enactment of death can produce a condition wherein which you don't get the results of it. You must get the results of it. And many of us are beginning to remember, many of you are beginning to remember through all types of experiences and people who are placed in your life to help you understand. There was a musician named Duane Allman who had a dream one night. And in the dream, Jimi Hendrix, who already so-called died or passed on, came to him and taught him a song. Now, Jimi wasn't coming necessarily to teach him a song alone. Jimmy was coming to help Dwayne understand that there is no such thing as death, because in the worldly sense, Dwayne's death was imminent in that he did have a motorcycle accident and went somewhere other than where he could be seen by us who think we're alive, and think those who die who are no longer seen by us are considered dead. But obviously, Dwayne was being prepared by Jimmy not to make another hit song, but to recognize that there is no such thing as that which he thought could occur, to remove the fear and trepidation from his mind, so he could be free from that ties that bind him to the ideas that are anything other than those of the kingdom of reality of which we're part of. So God is but love, therefore so am I. There is no such thing as death. There is no death. The Holy Son of God is free, because God is but love, and therefore so am I. So if God is love, and so am I, then there's never a time that we're not in love. There's never a time we're not free, and we're undoing what we think of as the effects of times wherein which we thought something other than reality, or the reality of what we're speaking of now, was possible. And in that sense, now that those things have been undone in our mind, we won within our own recognition of the source of life itself as the love and freedom that life is, and extends eternally and infinitely within the abundance of the creative reality of which we participate. So that will be today's lesson, and I'll see you guys again soon.